Welcome to the Old-Fashioned Three. They've been around basketball from the Big Dipper to the Greek Freak, from Russell Celtics to Curry's Warriors, from Peach Baskets to Paolo Banchero. Here are Whitey Gleason, Phantom, and Jerry Reynolds.
Yes, that was that cat, all right.
Yeah, I'm going to do my best and everything because I'm professional, but it's not easy when you get ready for the show. Jerry sees my T-shirt and starts laughing. Laughing at my Kings back-to-back Pacific Division championships, 2002, 2003. I thought you would have had some. I know you weren't coaching at the time, but I thought you would have had some pride in that.
Well, I did until the time that we saw Shaq making fun of it, and it's always stuck with me because it was one of those things where Shaq always had a knack of looking up. Oh,
yeah, the Pacific Division titles.
Like he was, and that's kind of all we had to be proud of, and he made fun of what we had to be proud of. So it's always stuck with me,
When you put a division banner up and another team in your division actually wins the world championship that year
and mocks your banners and stuff, it's not good.
Kind of takes some of the luster off.
Yeah,
doesn't
like
it?
17 times they've done that.
So,
that's another reason I don't like them.
Yeah. Oh boy. Hey, it looks like we were right, Phantom, about the Kevin Durant, the whole Kevin Durant thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry. I believe the very latest on KD is now he's staying, just as we said.
Hey,
I think we predicted that.
I think we did. I think he was listening. I think he might have been checking us out maybe on the iTunes. And he says, hey, those guys are right. I'm going to go with what they say.
Well, the rumors are that tomorrow they'll get together and they'll have a sing Kumbaya and then have a group hug.
That's great.
And, brings tears to your eye, doesn't it?
It does.
It does. You know that they'll love one another. And now, really, KD has decided Steve Nash is the coach he still wants.
How that changed. The worm turned on that one.
Yeah. So he will reestablish his commitment to the team, right, and vice versa. And then look at they have a chance to be pretty good, don't they?
They have a chance to be really good.
Yeah.
And that's we talked about that too. I think it's like, come on, Kyrie. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons if Kyrie's ever going to be a player that you can count on, it'll be this year. Mm-hmm. Joe Harris coming off injuries, KD. He's still KD. When the ball goes up, he's KD.
Yep.
And so. Yeah, I think they're a real threat in the East, or should be, and so there you are.
What about Ben Simmons?
That's what
Ben Simmons ever going to be a player?
I really want to see Ben Simmons. I didn't care before, but now that he hasn't played in so long, that's the part of the equation I want to see the most is Ben Simmons coming out because I don't think we really know what he can do until he comes out and does it, and the way he's going to help Kyrie, the way he's going to help Kevin Durant. I think it's going to be that's the part of it I really want to see. The part of the equation is what does Ben Simmons have, and hopefully he'll feel like playing and everything will be fine. Because there seems to be a problem with the Nets. They take turns not feeling like playing, and now the other two seem like they feel like playing. So let's see if they can make it 3 for 3.
Well, as we found out reading Hoops Hype this morning, and he is playing 3-on-3, fan.
Well, yeah,
oh my goodness.
They don't. And I know there's a league for that now. So maybe that's where he wants to go,
and
that would be fine.
Well, there's some thoughts that prior by camp he will actually play 5-on-5, which is
that's the way you do it, right?
Yeah. But I will say this for him: if in fact he gets back to where he was before the year-long pout thing, he
that's officially the name of it now. Yeah. The year-long pout.
I've had like week pouts, but I've a full
WEEK or EAK?
Both
Yes.
a week-long and week pouts, as Mrs. Reynolds would attest. But
we got to get her in here.
We got to get her to attest in person. She's attesting.
Maybe some week where you can't make it or something.
Reynolds, Mr. Reynolds Jr. perhaps come in there. I know he's a big fan.
Yeah, a huge fan.
Yeah, of you.
Huge fan.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do think Simmons' game should fit perfect, absolutely perfect with Kyrie and Durant, and don't forget Seth Curry, because you talk about a great spot shooter. He's almost the level. Actually, his percentages are better than even Steph's. The last few years, I think. He and of course, like I mentioned before, Harris coming back, was the best 3-point shooter in the league for a couple of years.
Yeah.
You gotta think they're a real threat.
You talked about 3-on-3, and I know I think it was Wiseman last year. There were reports came out that he's playing 5-on-5 now. But you've run these things, so when we hear that a guy's playing 3-on-3 or 5-on-5, that doesn't mean that he's playing against NBA players necessarily, right? It could just be like coaches or, hey, we need to play 3-on-3. So we don't know. We assume that, he's scrimmaging, but 5-on-5 may not mean actual NBA level, right?
No, I'll tell you what, it doesn't mean anything until you see him play 5-on-5
Yeah.
with crowds in there or at least a camera on them when they're telling you they're playing 5-on-5. Like say, well, can we see it? Well, no. Well, then that tells
But I'll
you
tell you
that
everything
tells
that
you there ain't
happened,
much to see. You know that it's probably like you say a couple of coaches and
Right.
and a couple of basically guys trying to make the roster, things of that nature.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So there's 3 on this side and 3 on that side, but let's not get carried away.
Let's not get carried away.
Yeah.
Well,
and there's nobody exactly busting their hump, trying to stop you either. It's one of those deals.
Yeah.
You don't want to re-injure the guy. When you're talking
You
about
don't want to re-injure his feelings.
Oh no!
Right?
You don't want
That's
to hurt
the
his
thing.
feelings, but you don't know what will do that. That's the problem. These kids today, you never know what's going to hurt their feelings.
I know that, like you say, year-long pout for Ben Simmons, it was way overboard. But I could see how you'd be a little upset there. You had this terrible collapse at the free throw line in the playoffs for the Sixers, and it cost your team dearly. And then your coach, Doc Rivers, after the game, hey, can he still be your point guard? He says, yeah, I don't know. I mean,
No, there's merit on both sides.
you don't
I'm not
have to
saying
back
that.
the bus over him after throwing him under there.
I'm not saying
right?
that there's not merit. I'm just asking, Jared, when you have as you say, these guys coming back, this guy decides he wants to play, this guy gets back from injury. I mean, realistically, how long does it take you before you say, well, to put that together again? That's a whole season-long thing to try to put all these parts back together in working order because there's so many movable parts, aren't there?
Well, I don't think it's going to be instantaneous. I mean, I do think though basketball really isn't nuclear physics here.
That's good.
And these
Okay.
guys have played it and they're fairly good at it. So, I think at 20 games in, you should have a pretty good clue if it's going to work or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's a finished product, but if they're 7-13, you got a pretty good clue that it's probably not going to work. Or conversely, if it's 10-10, you might say, "Oh yeah, this
We're on the way." Yeah.
yeah, they're heading the right direction."
But I think I see what Jerry's saying. When you look at Simmons, you know what he does, and he can probably play with just about anyone, especially if he doesn't have to shoot, and he certainly doesn't have to shoot on that team.
No.
Then you have other shooters, and you have Durant, who is going to do, there are times when he's going to, hey, give me the ball, but he understands a high basketball IQ. So there's every reason to think it should fit for them.
Well, it should.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, to me, Simmons is in the best position he's ever been in, to where he's surrounded by great shooters.
Yeah.
And for the great shooters, they've never probably had it better. A guy who can defend guys who they can't, and even his size. I mean, he can penetrate, he can get to the basket, he can make plays, and is he the? I kind of. Agree with Doc Rivers. He was put on the spot. One thing about Doc, he didn't lie. He had to have some questions.
I know, but
I
Jared,
know you wouldn't have. I wouldn't have said it.
Yeah, I mean,
And
especially if you want to trade a guy.
Yeah,
If,
well, no.
if you're thinking, we got,
Yeah.
hey, he's still our guy. You don't say, boy, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
trying
that's
to sell him is what you're saying, yeah.
basically 15 minutes after you
Yeah, I
see
know.
your point guard
Right.
turn down an absolute layup in
yeah.
order because
Yeah.
you didn't want to shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be a little sensitive.
Yeah, he triggered the year of the pout with that comment.
yes,
So, I mean, that was a very
yes.
strong comment.
Yeah.
And, I mean, and so a little of both.
Yeah.
But, I mean, should Doc have said that? No, even though it's true.
Well, yeah, I understand. No
He
question
shouldn't
about
have said
that.
it.
Yeah.
But it's also true that should not lead to a year of pouts and
Yeah.
holdouts and everything else.
Yeah.
They could have had a kumbaya group hug a little sooner than that.
I didn't see that happening.
What do you think,
Yeah.
Phantom? Benny and the Nets, for Ben
I
Simmons?
think so. I just think it's such a huge unknown. He hasn't played in so long. I see Jerry, obviously he's got the talents, he's got the abilities to fit right in with these guys, but I have trouble investing on someone until I actually see them back on the court and actually see them interacting with everybody. Because when you're talking about someone who was the pout like that, you don't know how he's going to react to adversity until he is confronted with adversity. So I'm going to withhold judgment for just a second on that. But I think that's a catchy tune, and I'm
Benny and the Nets.
Go ahead with that.
So now your judgment will be withheld. At what point can we count on Mr. Basketball coming out and saying,
We need to know.
I got to see it.
Yeah,
right.
okay.
I'm not from
I mean, see
Missouri,
it like
but-
one game or
No, I've got to see it as a I mean, you just did a year of the pout.
Yeah.
So can I have a month of good?
Yes,
Is that
yes.
okay to ask
No,
for?
that's fair.
I'm just saying, you just got to show me a little bit. Like I say, I've never been to Missouri. I watch the Cardinals occasionally, but you got to show me something for a sustained period. And then obviously with basketball, if you're winning, it's all going to work out and everybody's going to be happy.
Was that a
With your-
Show Me State reference?
That was yes, I thought I'd throw that in
Okay.
there. It's a
I
deep
caught
dive.
it on the back after it passed me. I caught the
On
back
the
of it.
DVD cut, it'll be an Easter egg, okay? People will go, oh wow, I got to look for that. That's fantastic. I like to do that. Dennis Miller, Monday Night Football was my idol.
Really?
Yeah, sure. There you go.
That's
Do you
too
know
bad.
what Ben Simmons' career three-point shooting numbers are? Career. Do you have any idea? I believe I had to look this up. I think he's 5 for 34 for his
Okay.
career.
Right.
In the regular season.
But that is not,
It's like,
doesn't factor
oh
in.
my goodness.
But that doesn't factor in, right? You're telling me he's not going to shoot 3-pointers.
Well, you have to sometimes in today's NBA.
Not
don't
if
you?
you're
You have to be
5
able to
for 34.
I know, but it's really odd. And then the free throw shooting, the way it went off a cliff.
That is alarming.
Yeah,
because it's the
yeah.
guy that has the ball all the time, and if he's going to get fouled, yeah.
What's going on? It's got to be all in here, right?
Well, I mean, no, I think partly it is, but the other part is
Is he
can't
shooting with
shoot.
is he shooting with the wrong hand?
No,
Right-handed Ben Simmons is a hell of a player.
No, I mean he's not a good shooter. Never has been. He wasn't in college, and everybody knew that. And he was drafted number 1, and he was rookie of the year,
Yeah.
and he was been an all-star, and he still can't shoot. Well, he's not the first guy that can't shoot. Now, the real trick is like you say, you'd like for everybody to be able to shoot threes, but you can't make guys shoot three. You can leave them open. They don't have to shoot it. They can actually pass somebody else who can.
Right.
Or get past their defender and create a problem
Yeah.
to somebody. And as we pointed out, or I pointed out, you guys weren't listening, that he has 4 guys out there that can flat shoot it.
Yeah,
with
but
him.
those 4 guys now have 5 guys guarding those
right.
4 because I don't have to guard him because he's 5 for 34.
No, he's going to get to the basket, and they might even play him as an offensive center at times on in the half court. I mean, why wouldn't you just run him to the basket a lot?
I know he's really good in transition. I mean,
He's
really,
great in transition,
Really good in transition.
and he does have a post game.
Huh.
I mean, he really does. Now, having said that, I mean, I think he'll average 15 points on 10 shots, and there you go.
that
Now,
would
we're
work.
Got to make a
That
couple
would
free throws for that.
and there's
though.
no rule that says you have to take so many threes. By the way, I think Oscar Robertson played a career without taking one, so
Right.
they didn't have them.
How did that happen? Gosh.
Yeah.
How the heck did that happen?
Yeah.
So,
Gets us
and
back
then,
to
and then you have guys like
offensive
Russell
three.
Westbrook who gladly take them, but he can't make them either.
Right.
So what would you rather have, Whitey?
I just don't like to. He passes up the 3 and he drives by his guy. Then he passes up the layup too. So
Well, we want
he
him.
passes him up
We
both
don't
ends.
want him to pass up layup.
But he
Well,
goes up and goes, wait a minute.
wait.
If I miss this, Doc Rivers is going to be all over my
Yeah,
ass.
but see, Doc ain't there.
It doesn't matter.
No, and
These guys, it's right here, Jerry.
And Steve Nash is going to pat him on the butt.
Wow.
You know,
He
come
and
on.
Kevin Durant are best
That is
friends now.
That is part of his job description this year.
Yeah, it is.
Steve Nash has to be. Ben is perfect.
Yeah.
we love
Well,
everything about
he
him.
will, and he
Yeah,
will. He's
yeah.
by nature a very positive.
He's Canadian.
Exactly.
So you got,
Yeah,
yeah,
me
okay,
too.
it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Hey, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Hey, Ben.
Yeah.
So I think,
Yeah.
no, this, don't. I think they're going to be good. I think Ben's going to be good. I'm saying it right here. Ben Simmons is going to have a really good year.
He's the one that said that.
Well, no,
I
no,
said
I'm,
show me first.
yes,
That's all I'm saying.
I'm on your side.
Yes.
I just wanted to.
I'm
pin
a guy
it.
who pouted for a year. You got to show me you're going to get on the court.
I absolutely do. I was just, as I pointed out earlier, and you again.
You are all about the you today, and I love it.
I said 20 games. 20 games.
Okay, 20.
And that's even more than you said that you had to see.
I said a month, so I mean we're
Yeah.
kind of on the same
Yeah,
page.
kinda.
But, a quarter of a season doesn't really indicate, a return. But I'll give you 20.
Do you know
No,
that
no.
they're? I don't know if this is true. I heard that for home games in Brooklyn, they're taking out the 3-point line and they're putting in the 3-pout line for Ben Simmons.
Oh,
God.
no. He's talking
know
about
if
my
that's-
show me joke, and now he's throwing that
that's
crap
true.
out there.
I'm just.
Are you going to be back? I want Doc Rivers to respond to that. Put him on a year-long pout.
I'm hoping it works for Ben Simmons.
Scurrilous
Yes.
attack.
But 5 for
Scurrilous attack.
34 is
Scurrilous
kinda,
Williamson.
whoa.
I remember him.
Yeah.
He was fantastic.
Whoa. Okay. You mentioned Seth, and no one talks enough about Seth, who's a really good shooter. What was it like coaching against Dell Curry?
Well, you didn't want to leave him open.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I mean,
He
Dell.
was just pretty
Dell
much-
was really good. I mean, I think his probably career has gotten better the years he hasn't played. Because of his sons.
Right.
But he was a top flight spot shooter.
About the time. Pardon me, but about the time you were coaching, I think of him, and I think of like Dale Ellis is like those were like the fundamental.
Yeah.
Those
Oh, yeah.
guys.
Rolando
Yeah.
Blackman,
Yeah.
I think, also in that group.
Yeah. But Dale Ellis was certainly. I mean, he had the great range early.
Yeah,
and so did Dell. I mean, and had the quick releases, and all
Shoulders
that.
squared.
Yeah, Dell is really very similar to Seth.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I think Seth is, in some ways, probably got more handle, more game than because Dell was truly a shooting guard.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what he was, and really did not make a lot of plays off the bounce, and really Seth has gotten so he can do more of that.
Yeah. He disparages Seth. I don't know.
No, I don't. I like Seth. I just think you're right, Jerry. I think every time Steph does something amazing, it's like, well, his dad was a hell of a shooter, and he gets to be a better shooter every time one of the kids does something amazing. So your point is well taken. No, I like Seth. I think he's perfect for that team. Like you said, he can go to any spot on the floor and hit shots, but also create for other guys. So
yeah,
he's
he's got a good knack. I mean, he's not. His biggest problem was Seth Curry. He's not Steph.
Yeah.
What
but his dad was a heck of a shooter, Jerry. I don't know if
his
you know
dad
that.
was a heck of a shooter.
Fantastic.
And I would say his dad was probably third in the family now.
There you go.
As far as ability to shoot the ball. So
and happy about it.
And very happy.
Yeah,
about
very
it.
happy
Very
about it.
Don't forget
about it.
Damian Lee's in the family now too. Although, yeah, he's probably
He's
a better
still
shooter than
third in
Damian
the family. Yeah.
Still be third.
Well, how come we don't have a similar effect as far as Michael Thompson goes? No one says Michael Thompson better than he was because Clay's such a good player.
Because he's
right?
not good at the same thing.
Yeah.
We have a family of shooters, and we have a 6'10", 6'11" big man, and then all of a sudden here comes Clay Thompson at 6'7". He kind of does a couple of the same things, but obviously shoots the ball way better. So not really a reflection.
Gotcha.
Professionalism, yes, but not as far as his skill set is concerned.
And Michael was the #1 pick in the draft, and Clay was the 11th pick, but Clay's had the better career, and certainly Michael was an excellent player, no question, but not a Hall of Famer, and Clay probably is.
Didn't the Kings have a chance to draft Clay?
Sure did.
Yeah.
Well,
Joe,
they
don't
got
why
they,
you opening
they
that
got
up.
they got somebody everybody thought was a little better. Got him Jimmer Fredette.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you define everybody?
As actually nobody.
Everybody
as it
with
turned
an
out.
asterisk
Well,
that says nobody on the bottom.
Well, let's be accurate here.
Okay.
Clay may not have been the best player that the Kings missed that year.
Well, that's always nice to know.
There was a guy named Kawhi Leonard that went later.
I've heard of
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
there was a guy that went 60th that had almost the most valuable player year by the name of Isaiah Thomas, who they did draft.
They did draft.
So good
Yeah,
draft. That's what they
that's
tried to
right.
tell us. I know. I've heard
Yeah,
that. Oh,
yeah.
our second round pick was so good. He actually was our first
Well,
round
I always
pick.
used to kid, every time, Jeff get pretty low, I'd say, well, you actually drafted a lottery guy. You just took him 60th. And the lottery guy should have went 60th.
Yes, and that's
so,
how good a drafter you are.
Well, it's like Jerry West one year. They were all giving him credit for drafting Nick Van Exel with the 38th pick. I said, yeah, but they took George Lynch with the 8th.
I was like George Lynch, too.
So, I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
George Lynch would have been great back in the 60s or 70s, a lot better than I think he would turn
Yeah,
out to be.
he was an okay player,
Yeah.
but obviously not where you'd want in
No.
the lottery. But
North
I always
Carolina
say
carries a lot of weight,
the draft stuff is so funny because I always remember the Joe Axelson story one year, like the last year there in Kansas City, and they had 7 rounds in.
Oh,
And
my
they
God.
drafted Eddie Neely from Kansas State
I
with
remember
the
it. Yes, yes.
seventh round pick, and he ended up, basically having a career.
He made the
Power
team
forward?
and everything.
Oh, he
yeah,
played.
Yeah,
he-
yeah.
Power forward?
Yeah,
Yeah.
played with the
That's
Bulls later on.
euphemistically power forward.
My
Just
point would be
big white stiff.
that the first round pick, Enos Watley, was the 3rd or 4th pick in the draft, and actually Eddie had a better career
Yes.
than he did. But I always remember, Joe was saying, "Oh yeah, we really liked Eddie. We felt he's going to be good all along." I was thinking, Well, why would you wait till the 7th round?
Yeah.
If you really thought he's
Yeah.
going to be a
Yeah.
player, you'd certainly take him in the 2nd round.
He didn't jump off the page at you though, Eddie Neely.
He didn't
as I
jump at
recall.
all.
He didn't jump. He just jumped over the page.
Well, no, he
Yeah.
was. He
Couldn't
was.
get a
make it.
page underneath.
He
him.
should have probably been a second
Seventh?
round, but no, he was better than a 7th round pick.
Yeah.
But to try to get credit for taking somebody in the 7th round, it's like, really, you really knew he's going to be really good or solid?
I think Ed Neely was kind of a Clyde Lee type. And I don't even know that. I just
Oh no, Clyde Lee was
I was gonna
good.
throw that out there and
He
see where
was
that
a
went.
tremendous rebounder.
Yeah.
Fantastic rebounder.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
who-
I don't think I put Ed Neely in that class.
wouldn't put Ed in
no,
that
no,
class.
no,
I
no,
don't.
no.
I was kidding.
Maybe.
I
Of course you
don't.
were. You're big with the
don't.
jokes today.
Bill Robinsine? I don't know.
Bill Robbins? Oh,
No, he probably Robinson was better too. you know.
Okay, all
Sad.
right.
There's another sad tale. That took his own life. And
Yeah.
pretty good player.
Yeah.
Pretty good
I
player.
know Daryl Dawkins had one of his famous dunks over him.
Yeah.
Because he
Yeah,
put him in the
yeah.
name
Down
of the
the back
dunk.
row.
Yeah,
Robinsine
that was the
crying.
first big.
Yeah. Yeah.
I bet you don't even know where that game was played.
I bet you don't.
Well, let's see. I'm going to go.
There's a lot of places it could
Philadelphia
be.
76ers.
I could see Holland is out.
I'm going to go. Let's see. That would have been against the Kings. So I'm going to say Omaha, Nebraska.
I'm going to say it was an alternate site. So
Yeah.
it was St. Louis, Missouri.
It was actually their home court at that time was Kemper Arena.
Yeah.
But they had a roof collapse, and they were playing the home games in downtown. The old Municipal Auditorium would seat about 11,000,
Okay.
and that's
Wow.
where the event happened.
Yeah.
So just
Gotcha.
I knew you
yeah,
guys-
good to know.
Oh boy,
Good to know.
I didn't know. I got to do better research before.
well, I was
come
going
in
to
here.
say,
Yeah.
old-fashioned threes kind of coming up
Yeah.
short here. It looks like to me.
Where did Daryl Dawkins do that dunk?
Yeah.
that's a good. That's an excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two things on
That'll
Jimmer.
be on the home game.
Looks
yeah.
like I'm carrying the load
Oh,
here,
you- I
boys.
tell you.
Two things on
And
Jimmer.
you're letting us know.
If
Oh
the, if
boy.
the Shanghai Sharks ever have a Wall of Fame, I think he's going to be on it, right? Because didn't he score like 70 for the
I
Shanghai
think more
Sharks?
than that.
Yeah.
I think he got near 100. Didn't he get like 80 or something?
Yeah, I
think
So
he did.
they didn't draft him at
Okay.
all in that league either.
And I
Yeah.
think technically that year, if you look it up, and everyone's gonna, scrambling
Obviously,
to
yeah,
Wikipedia,
right now.
looking up that draft, I think it shows that the Kings technically drafted Bismack Biyombo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, but then they made a
traded-
trade. Right?
so
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
okay then.
So,
yeah.
so
Yeah,
not a
everything
whole
was-
lot of difference, was it?
So what were you trying to show there? I'm sorry. What?
Well, I just because Jerry's wants
Yeah,
to set the
yeah,
record straight.
yeah.
I don't want people looking it up and going, "Those guys are they didn't draft Jimmer Fredette," but essentially they did.
Essentially
Instead of
they
Clay.
did, yeah.
yeah. And that's
Did-
one of the
did-
reasons
didn't
why
work out,
Clay
though.
destroys the Kings and had the 37-point
Yeah.
quarter, and it's a whole different regime. But I think he finally mentioned that last year. Clay says, "Yeah, when I play them, I want to remind them of what they did." And that's
Yeah,
why
no,
Does he
goes
do that to
nuts
the other
against
10
them.
teams that passed him up too?
Well, he should.
He probably does, but he
Yeah.
doesn't hold
Well,
it
I
up.
think I think players do take those things pretty serious. I mean, and that's okay. You whatever you need to
Motivate you.
keep you motivated.
Brady
I mean,
too, right? It's
I
like,
can say Michael Jordan was the 3rd pick. So there you go.
Yeah. And he get fired up because he didn't make the varsity team or something, but it
Yeah,
was
but he was a sophomore at
Yeah.
the time. So okay, so you're 15 years old and you developed it all yet, and you didn't
Yeah.
make the varsity. You made it the next year,
Yeah.
so everything was okay. So maybe that's a little overblown.
But in his mind,
Yeah.
whatever it takes.
Oh, I
to
didn't
your
make
point.
the varsity, man.
Yeah,
Well, there were
whatever it
other
takes
guys
to get
older
you
and
ready to
better
play.
than you.
Yeah. Name them.
Well, there was obviously what's his name? Ed
Georgia-
Neely. Ed Neely.
Yeah.
Bismarck Biyombo was
Well,
one of them.
I always remember Bill Russell telling me about, he was, like he said, it made him bitter for years. The conference are in University of San Francisco. I don't know what they called it then. I mean, but he said the most valuable player in the league the year he graduated, and of course, back-to-back championships, was Kenny Sears. And he said, so
good
every
forward. Yeah.
he said every time I played him, I just kicked his butt, man. I just destroyed him.
Well, he kicked everybody's butt.
Everybody's butt,
That was-
but he'd be. Of course, his butt was easily kickable.
It was very,
Yeah.
especially if you're Bill Russell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. Wilt.
I always thought, well, I always thought it was interesting that I think Bill Russell had 5 MVPs, 4 or 5 MVPs, but on 2 or 3 of those occasions, he wasn't first team All NBA center. It was Wilt Chamberlain.
Chamberlain,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was Wilt Chamberlain. So it's like
What?
everybody knew that Bill Russell was the best player, but Wilt Chamberlain was the best center. It's kind of like it's just a strange thing. I don't know.
Yeah. That would never fly these days.
No,
Twitter
you
wouldn't
can't
stand
do-
for it.
Well, no,
Well-
these days you go, well, we've got to change it so we can put both of them on the team. We can't, because
Yeah.
they have Jokic and Embiid, and
Yeah.
they're all worried about that.
You would
Oh,
do that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think there's a difference between most valuable player and best player.
Yeah.
Or most talented player.
And
I
that's the whole-
And I don't
that's
think
what it
Bill
illustrates, yeah.
Bill would never tell you that he's more talented than Wilt.
Yeah.
He didn't believe that he was, and I don't think anybody believes that he was.
Yeah.
But he was more valuable to
but he
the
was
team and
more
to
valuable.
success of the team. So
Yeah,
to
I
me,
think-
nobody can be more valuable than the best player. But anyway, I understand what you
Well,
guys are saying.
okay, well,
right? I
all
mean,
right.
how can you be more valuable than the best player in the league?
Well,
But-
because you might fit with your teammates better. In other words, I mean, you can, let's say, you put who's the best player in the league now? Giannis Antetokounmpo.
yeah.
Okay, put him at Orlando. Would he then?
with Franz Wagner and Suggs.
See, now you got him all
Well,
worried.
they-
okay, pick a different team because he's all crazy about Orlando anyway.
and Paulo now.
Wait a minute.
We may not. Yeah.
Well,
why,
he
why
might-
didn't you put him on the Kings?
Well, he'd make any team 10 games better. I think
absolutely,
so.
yeah.
But it'd be tough for him to lead them to a championship. Let's put it that way.
I got you. Yeah.
Or
but-
maybe not.
Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe
know,
he'd
he
do
is-
it, yeah.
I'm
Maybe
excited
not.
about
Maybe
the
he could do it. I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
I would like to see him on the Magic.
Yeah,
now.
now that I think about it,
Yeah. Jonathan Isaac comes
Yeah,
back,
yeah,
and they've
yeah.
got
Come
Banchero.
on.
Yeah.
Woo.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Giannis.
Yeah.
If you're that damn good, let's see you. Come on, take on a challenge here.
Well, speaking
That's
of,
what
yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
no, that's okay. Go ahead. He's trying to challenge players, get them traded to bad teams. It makes the league more interesting. I
yeah.
love that. It's a great idea,
Yeah.
Jerry.
Well, people, I got to tell you, there's some people in the Bay Area that listen to the 95.7, and when I was on there the day of the draft, and then people were talking about who you draft, and I said, I would take, because they had the 7th pick, and I said I would take Franz Wagner, and now I still, just this weekend I had somebody, Whitey said to take Wagner instead of Kuminga, ha ha ha. And I'm saying, you know what? That wouldn't have been bad.
He had a good
Franz
season.
Wagner's good.
Yes, he
and
is
Kuminga,
good.
yeah, it's not like people think Franz Wagner is his brother Mo Wagner,
Oh,
and
gosh.
he's pretty
The
good.
old
Jared.
Wagner
I don't-
identity, yeah.
I'm not embarrassed by what I said before the draft.
You are. You brought it
shouldn't.
up.
No, you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I mean, we still don't know if Kuminga's better than Wagner.
Careful, because my wife, she loves you, but she loves Kuminga, so just be careful.
Well,
We may not know for a while is the point, I think,
Yeah.
maybe.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. I was going to say I don't want to tick
Right.
off your wife. 'Cause
Right,
She's
right.
went the extra mile with me, but
Made me
but,
wash my car.
But I think
Big Jerry fan.
I'll say this, my final word on this subject. I think Kuminga is going to be better, but to date, you can't say that
Right.
with certainty.
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
and take another step is he was a good pick where he was taken. He would have been a good pick at 7.
yeah.
I mean,
you
that's
go.
the bottom line. He had
You're
been
validated,
a good,
yeah.
He'd have been a good pick there,
Yeah.
and he would look even better with the Warriors.
Yeah.
That's also true.
And he had a good workout for them, and they were thinking about it. And also, we thought Kuminga was going to go sooner than that. But be that as it may, I don't even know why you brought that up.
Yeah, that's my bad. Yeah.
Speaking
I'm a
of
little crazy
players,
today.
changing teams. Okay, so it looks like KD's going to stay there, which we thought all along. So now, probably the biggest name who's on the trade market is Donovan Mitchell. And I'm sure you guys saw this. The Knicks are in on Donovan Mitchell. We'll see where that goes. And supposedly The Athletic reported there's 6 other teams that are interested, and they are the 3H teams, so the Hawks, the Hornets, and the Heat, the Wizards, the Raptors, and the Kings interested in Donovan Mitchell.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that they have the wherewithal to get it done.
Right. They just called, maybe. Yeah.
There's something about Donovan Mitchell, Jer, and Mr. Basketball, and I know he's a good player, but I just can't see him as that type of player who's going to demand the type of return that Utah's going to try to get for him.
I don't know. What do you think, Mr.
I think you're right. I don't think he's the kind of. We've talked about it before. As far as does he make your team better? Probably. Does he make your team a winner?
He didn't even make
Not
the Orlando
really.
Magic right now.
Not after Giannis got traded there. Incredible, and they didn't have to give anything up. But yeah, it just seems that these teams that if you're giving away a lot for a guy like that, they're pushing it into first round draft choices and that kind of stuff. I don't think he's going to come in and make the difference. I don't think he's a guy that's going to take you all the way. Is he a good player? Obviously, he's a good player. Can he be the second or third best player? Maybe third best player on a championship team? Perhaps, but he's not the guy who's one of the top 2. And I think we've seen that over the past couple of years. So I would not mortgage the future. I'm not mortgaging the future on anybody.
But
the
if
thing
you
about
look
him
at
is
his numbers, they're
he's
really
young,
good.
He's younger. Yeah, he's really good. But as it translated into, he hasn't taken Utah, and then Utah trades Gobert, they get a buttload or boatload,
Hey.
whatever. I'm sorry about that for him.
Watch it.
And now that sets the tune. I know the Knicks have offered Topping and a couple of other guys and like 4 or 5 first-round picks.
Not toppings.
Oh,
I mean,
toppings.
it's like
See, toppings. No, it's
sprinkles
pepperoni.
and
They got a
yeah.
little bit of mushrooms and olives.
Yeah.
So, sometimes the meat lover's the best. But
Yeah.
We'll give you your choice
But-
of toppings.
yeah, we'll give you just the toppings. We'll give you, we'll give you R.J. Barrett and mushrooms. How about that? Is that going to work for you? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just all off the tracks here, but I'm not doing this. What my point is.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is, I think there's a trade for the Knicks that makes sense. Don't know if they'll do it. Don't know if Ainge will do it.
Mitchell's from there, right? That's one
That
aspect of
he
it.
would
Yeah.
probably like to go. But I mean, my thinking is, if the Knicks would trade, Quentin Grimes, in my mind, Grimes and 2 unprotected first, that's probably a fair deal for the Utah, who's wanting to redo it, and so they got a chance. And I think they'll get to that. To be honest with you, I think Danny's still, thinking, we might get this or we might get that, but I think the Knicks maybe even they say they want to keep Barrett, and I think they probably do because he'd fit as a small forward with Brunson and Donovan Mitchell. But I'm with you guys on this. I just don't think for a bad team, which the Knicks are. He makes sense because they're looking for another scorer, a number one guy, and he could be their number one guy. Now Randall might dispute that.
Yeah.
But and that'll have to work itself out. But I do think that they got a chance to probably, if they get him, and that's what they give up to some future picks. Hey, they're 10 games better or more.
Yeah.
And so for them, it makes sense. I'm not sure who else it makes sense
Okay.
for. I don't know why the Hawks would want to do that.
No, when they got Murray and
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe that. I think that's agent
sure.
talk.
The,
I think
there's no
that-
way the Kings would have the wherewithal to even come close to making if they wanted to.
Well,
a deal,
they'd have
right?
to trade. It'd have to be De'Aaron Fox and something.
Yeah.
And so, do the Kings want to do that? They might, but I don't know that the risk is. If you're going to give up future picks, again, especially if they're future unprotected picks, you just can't do that if you're the Kings.
Would you give up toppings? What's your favorite topping? Would you give up toppings for?
Not my favorite topping.
Oh, Toppin?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he can. I'd give him
Dayton,
up.
the Dayton
Sure.
Flyers. Yeah.
I'd give up a whole bunch of the guys. I mean, he's okay. I think he might eventually be a starter on a decent team. Might eventually be. Key
right.
key
Another one of
words
those.
there.
Yeah.
The old term. I was reading this other day. A guy said, potential. You know what that means? They haven't done it yet.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And so.
You guys, please tell me if I'm wrong. It's like I need to ask you
Yeah,
to do that.
you
You're gonna
are.
jump on
Yeah.
me before I even finish this.
Go ahead,
Donovan
Jerry.
Mitchell to me is a guy. If he doesn't get his 20 shots a game, I don't know if he can help me much. I mean, he's a
Yes.
scorer. He's not a great shooter. His defensive numbers are okay. Doesn't have a great handle. He's a really good player, but I think that's what it comes down to for me because I see him and I think, I don't know why, but there's something that keeps me from putting him here, and I think it's that if he's not getting a ton of shots, I don't know that he helps me that much. Is that close?
Well, I agree. I always said he's a volume scorer.
Yeah.
And I mean, he can get you 24 points on 20 shots.
yeah.
Well, if everybody did that, you wouldn't win much.
There'd be a lot of rebounds.
But he can also go get a shot when others can't.
Yeah.
And he gladly will take and make big shots. So, to me, he's a Bradley Beal, another version of Bradley Beal. Probably not quite as big, but probably a little more versatile in some ways.
Yeah.
And I think, you'd love to have those guys. And if they're your number one guy, you're probably not going to be a contender. I mean, as much as I love Mitch Richmond, I've always said the same thing about Mitch. Mitch could go get you some points.
That's one of the comps that comes up. If you look at the analytics with Mitchell, you end up.
I mean, if
comes
he's,
up.
if you could ever make Mitch, like with the Kings, your second or third best player, you really can be really good. The Kings just never could do that.
Yeah.
And but I think that's same with Bradley Beal, and I think with Donovan Mitchell, and I think that's why. And I think Danny Ainge knows that. I think Danny's a sharp guy, and I think
He learned a lot from you, right? He learned it
he's
all
a sharp
from you.
guy.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
He was dumb as a stump when it came to the Kings. I don't know. I just, it's almost just just remedial stuff when I
Yeah.
had to talk to Danny.
Yeah.
I wish we were talking about Ben Simmons and talking about psyches and everything. What does it do to all these players who get mentioned in all these trades?
boo-hoo-hoo,
nothing. Well, that's you
Come
can
on,
say
Mr.
that.
Basketball.
Well, what I mean, like John Collins, and every time there's a trade, he's the guy that's mentioned, and R.J. Barrett or whoever it happens to be. Who, at some point they got to go. Why is this guy? Why does everybody want to trade
Go
me?
grab your blankie.
Okay, go cry
it's
on a
under
bag
your
of
pile of money.
Go grab.
All right,
go dry
that's where your blankie
Dry
is.
your eyes on a pile of money, but it's still. I mean, these are human beings, man. They're not just statistics in a column.
He's
They're
dealt
human
with
beings.
this, so, yeah, I
well, that's
wouldn't-
why I'm asking
I
him.
know.
You obviously don't care about
He
people.
has-
You say, "I'll trade your bank account for your bank account." I don't care.
They're just like humans.
Playing
Yeah.
cards.
Yeah,
They're playing cards to him. Oh, it's nice to be way up there, I bet, huh,
Yeah.
Jerry?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, no.
Okay, no, we deal with people down here,
That's
okay?
right.
That's what we
right.
do.
We do.
Yes.
And I mean, it's like, they, anybody reading their name in the paper. And
Yeah.
I mean, at some point you say, geez, they really would just soon I not be here.
They don't want me here. Every time there's a trade, I'm the guy.
Yeah, it's like, so at some point, you'll go play and you'll do that, but you say, clearly, they're looking to move me when
Yes.
they can get the deal they like. So it probably doesn't have when they, see you in person,
Right.
or the coach or the general manager.
How's it going, buddy? Huh? How's it going?
it's like,
Hey.
yeah, sure.
Not really in your long-term plans is the way it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, especially I'll have to say, it's like any profession. If you were, a teacher and you read or knew that the principal wanted to get rid of you, or they're trying to bring in
Oh,
somebody.
go cry in a bag of money, Mr. Teacher. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
He
what
doesn't
I'm
have a bag of money. There's not
No,
much money in that bag.
that is true
Okay,
there.
okay, well
Yeah.
there. Oh, so you change your tune.
That's
There you
the
go.
difference.
They're
No,
still
no.
people.
No, they're
It's
still
people.
people.
They're people.
But we got to admit that money does help.
Money helps, sure. I wouldn't know. I've never had it.
Well,
But
I
you've
mean,
heard about
I've
it.
heard about people that did.
here's
Boy,
the thing.
those are cool
Well,
people.
Hey, money will never buy you happiness,
But
but it can buy you the keys to happiness.
Oh, yeah.
so I could go buy the
So-
keys, and then I'll go get happy.
So,
All
yeah.
right, it's a two-step
Yeah.
process. I
Yeah,
didn't know
so-
that. Okay.
so-
Yeah.
Just keep
So
in mind there.
Okay,
There you
Mr.
go.
Heartless. I guess we've
I will say this: as you guys were, and I kind of zoned out on whatever you guys were
Obviously
just talking
you
about.
did. We're talking about
But
people.
You're talking about players and how they react to all that, and how they find out. In the Perlman book about the three-ring circus, Shaq and Kobe, Shaq tells an interesting story about when he knew, okay, I'm done here. Because, that he and Kobe, that incredible friction, and Shaq towards the end of his run there, as you guys obviously know more than most, Shaq was not in shape and he didn't defend well. And so he said when they lost to Detroit that year, Detroit stunned them. They had like an end of the year party, which might have been like that night or the next day. And Shaq told the story that he went to the party with his wife. Was it Shawnee? Anyway, he says they go there and he sees Jerry Buss. Like, hey, he says Jerry Buss did not even look at him. And he said he told his wife then, he goes, well, we're in trouble. I think
We're done. We're done. Yeah,
because
yeah,
Jerry
yeah,
Buss didn't
yeah.
not even acknowledge his presence at that time.
Does Mrs. Gleason know how unsympathetic you are?
Yeah. How you hate people?
How hard is it for these
mean,
billionaires to read in the paper?
Billionaires
that they
now.
might be
We're talking about an
traded?
Ed Neely. Those guys aren't billionaires.
Sitting out there by
Yeah.
his pool,
My guy
and his
Toppings
servants
and those
bringing
guys.
him drinks, and he's scanning his phone like, "Oh, my name's in a trade rumor. I don't know if I can go
Yeah,
on."
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just
it's
checking.
okay. People have problems with mental health, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about exactly?
We started with Ben Simmons, and now we're just talking
Well,
about
Ben Simmons. I know
We're
he
talking
has
about
some
people.
real issues.
And like Jerry said, you see your name in the paper all the time. I think they're going to take Jerry Reynolds to Detroit,
Well-
Jerry Reynolds to Cleveland. We'd like this guy in Orlando. We could send him Jerry Reynolds. Pretty
But some
soon
of
you
these-
sit there and go,
Yeah,
maybe
You
they
guys-
don't want Jerry
some
Reynolds.
of these guys like that.
Yeah,
I
some
mean,
do.
yeah.
Some do because but I mean, if they really want traded, that's whatever.
If they want to be traded,
I think Donovan Mitchell's probably very much okay with it.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me
Donovan,
too.
not worried. I'm not worried about
Yeah,
Donovan. I'm
but-
worried about
but
the
I
guys
mean,
they're sending for Donovan.
And some guys, a lot of guys that are 10th, 12th men, they'd love to have their name out there in any direction. So So there's
Little
a little,
pub right
little
there,
bit
sure.
of both.
Yeah.
But the guy that feels like he's given his all to the franchise, you
Right,
know,
right.
and wants
Yeah,
to and
I get
wants to
that.
be and
Yeah.
wants to be there, and has been coachable and a good teammate.
Yeah.
So-
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, bottom line isn't like almost everybody is just a piece, really, when you think about it. I mean, Giannis isn't a piece, and Kevin Durant, but
Well-
there's almost everybody from the outside the top 30 or so, they're just pieces. If I can use them to get something else, I'm going to do it.
Well, let me break. This is going to come as a real jolt to both
Okay.
of you.
All right. Today, you're just breaking stuff. It's fantastic.
But we're all just pieces
What?
in
That's
this
true.
whole thing.
See what he said? This is what he's saying. We're all just pieces here.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
my God.
you just heard some. You just punctured a balloon
not
over
buying
there.
it. Not buying it.
You just punctured a balloon over there, Jerry.
I mean, you can be, you can be awful big, and one day, next day, you're not.
Absolutely
not,
yeah.
Ask
Yeah.
Chris Cuomo or somebody. You know,
I
that
don't know
sort of
Chris
stuff.
personally, but I will.
get him
Yeah.
on.
Well, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't either, but
Yeah.
it's like
Stones will call him. Yeah.
you know, the,
We'll get him on.
the
He gets
real
away with
world,
people,
the
yeah.
real
Yeah.
world can change things pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes,
You're
you
just
can.
dealing in truth today.
Yes,
I
you
am.
can.
You're a truth dealer.
I'm here to help. You
Yeah.
know,
You're just a helper.
You
kinda-
mentioned the organizational guys, and you've got these guys that they fear they're going to get traded. I think that's especially true of baseball players, like at the deadline, middle of the
Yes.
season, and you might get traded, and that's why sometimes teams play poorly before the deadline,
Yeah.
and maybe they play better because, like, whew, okay, we're going to be here. But Udonis Haslem is, I mean, he's part of the fabric of that Heat culture. Or
He
whatever
absolutely
it is,
is.
right? And he's going to be back for a 21st
20,
season.
at least 20
I think
years.
it's
Yeah.
20,
So can you guys name how many of the? And I only know this because I looked it up. Okay, can you name the 5 guys that have played 21 or more seasons? And 4 of them actually were playing at the same time concurrently. Can you? How many of the
Did
NBA
Kareem make
players?
it 21 seasons? Or is he 20?
This is 21 or more, and
So
Kareem
he's
I
20.
think was 20.
I think he's 20. Kevin Willis, maybe?
Kevin Willis is one. That's probably the hardest, one of the hardest ones.
Oh, good,
Yes,
because that's the only
correct.
one that's the only one I have.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
And one guy played for the Kings a couple years ago.
Oh, my God. Oh,
And he played 22.
Charlie
seasons.
Brown?
No,
The guy played
No.
for 42 different teams?
No, guy who started with the Raptors. He was a rookie the same year as Jay Will, and he played for the
Vince Carter.
Yeah, Vince Carter, 22 seasons.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good, Jerry. Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you got Larry's center.
Parrish.
Parrish played 21.
Chief.
Yeah, and then the 2 other guys were, I think it's like his idol, Stone's idol, right? Yeah.
Buster Posey?
No, before. See, and I was KG before he was, but Kevin Garnett.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then Dirk Nowitzki. Those
I
5
didn't know
played
he played
21
21
or
years.
more. Yeah, Willis and Parrish, Nowitzki, Garnett, and then Vinsanity.
Well, see,
Man.
the thing there a little bit is like with Willis, it's more amazing to me because, he played basically 4 years of college.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, when
Michigan
guys
State,
come
right?
out as
Yeah.
18-year-olds,
Yeah,
it's a little
that's a great point.
different. That's why LeBron will be able to do it. Vince, I
He's
think-
on his way.
Well, yeah, so I think that's a little bit of a skewed kind of way to
Yeah.
look at it, as opposed to Kareem, who couldn't come into the league until he was
Right.
after his 4
Right.
years of college.
No, you're right. I agree with it. Yeah,
Of
like
course,
Garnett.
I'm right. What do you mean?
Yeah. Kevin, I remember
You
Kevin.
got to be nice. What's a nicer way to say
Jerry,
that?
he's having
Yeah.
a bad day.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just you and I, Gary, it today. It's the old-fashioned duo today,
Yeah.
and he'll be back next week, and I'm sure he'll be great.
How,
okay?
if I just said I agree,
I'm
is
sure
that
you'd be great.
more
That-
amenable to you? Is
That'll
yeah.
work.
Okay.
I
All right,
remember
I
Kevin Willis
apologize.
because Kevin Willis was on that Hawks team that had the great layup line. I think it was like the first days of Arco Arena with Dominique, and Doc Rivers was in there.
Because
Those
I
guys-
told you to
Yes.
go to the game
Yeah.
early when they
Well,
played
said-
the Hawks,
yeah, 'cause
right?
they're- watch what they're doing out
Because
there.
I saw
It's
them when they played the
amazing.
Warriors, and it was Kevin Willis and Spud
And
Dominique
Dominique
Wilkins
and Doc Rivers.
and it's like, oh my goodness! And I actually did an interview once with Coach, Mike Fratello.
Yes, yeah.
And he said, yeah, I had to tell the guys,
I know.
take it easy because you're.
This
you're
was
spending
before that, yeah.
Way too much energy before the game. It was as good as any dunk contest you'll see.
Well, it
those-
didn't matter against
those
the
Hawks.
Kings. They could
Yeah,
waste all the energy
right.
they needed.
Right.
But, yeah, watching Dominique and all those guys. And since we got – talk a little bit about Dominique and how unique a guy he was.
Oh, well, yeah, he's truly one of the probably top 50 players ever. I mean, just the most explosive.
Amazing.
Maybe athlete. He's at the level of Jordan athletically. I mean, he wasn't a player that Jordan was, but, the human highlight film, that's what they called him, and very
nickname.
justifiably so.
When you coach the Kings, you're playing them. Who do you put on him?
I don't
Ed
remember.
Mealy?
Harold?
Ed would
No,
done
Harold
just,
couldn't guard
Ed
him.
would have done as good as anybody else.
Yeah.
You couldn't. I think
Wow,
actually,
who would you put in?
actually, Dominique, I think for a long time had the Arco record.
Yeah,
I
he
think
did.
with 45.
Yeah,
or something
the
like
old
that.
the old 10-3-33 record. Yeah.
So it didn't matter who you
obviously-
put on.
Obviously, the
No.
guy they put on him was not the right answer.
No, and I mean, and Dominique would just embarrass you.
He really would,
athletically,
yeah.
I mean, and some others would do it different ways, but yeah, Dominique, classy guy, and but
I'm glad to see he's still. Last I checked, he's doing Hawks games.
yeah,
still
he
involved
does,
in
yeah,
it.
and he's I think he's also some other role, but basically doing TV and pretty good at it. I think he does a good job. But
Best
I was
dunker
thinking
you-
of
yeah, sorry.
Kevin Willis. The thing always struck me with him. I mean, he had very good play.
Yes.
Had probably the shortest arms for a tall guy. Had almost like little flippers. And
Is
a
that what you
T-Rex.
Is that what you called them, little flippers?
no, we didn't. But I mean,
Little Jurassic
he
Park
was,
out there.
Yeah, but he was really good. And
Yes.
but,
Entry
but
passes
I
were
mean, for a
difficult.
6'11" guy, he probably more like a 6'7"
And a
or
hard
6'8"
worker,
guy.
right? Did all the dirty
Yeah.
work.
Oh yeah.
Around the
On
hoop.
that team, very talented team.
Yeah, and Dominique ended his career as either a Spur or a Clipper or a member of the Magic, I think. It's one of those
Yeah.
weird things.
Wow.
where-
Didn't he tear his Achilles and come back with? I think.
Yeah,
with
he
the
came
Clippers?
back.
Yeah, so he's one of the first guys to come back from
Achilles and was still good.
Yeah.
Which showed you how great he actually was.
Right.
The fact that he could come back and be good after Achilles when nobody. I always remember Tiny Archibald came back, but he was never Tiny Archibald.
Right.
His years with the Celtics, he was a distributor and all that after being unguardable and that sort of thing. So I mean, obviously it's a little different now. I mean, obviously guys have a better chance of coming back, but Rudy Gay or Cousins both went through that.
Yeah.
Neither have been the same.
Wes Matthews
Yeah.
Right.
went through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you being a coach, see the game through a different prism than, knuckleheads like, well, you're Mr. Basketball, so knuckleheads like me.
What is going on today?
So you see the game differently and look at other things.
I
So I
hope
don't
so.
know if
Jesus
you,
Christ.
you don't want to
My
see.
point
Point is,
season. That's
I was going to
you
ask
heartless
you,
bastard.
Yeah, like we talk about who's the best dunker, and I don't know if like some coaches like I don't care.
it's
you
2
know.
points. I don't care.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering. So I understand that. I was trying not to offend you, and in trying not to offend you, I offended you.
Wow.
Best is there? Who comes to mind like the best dunker you ever saw, or the best dunk you ever saw? Or are you like
Well,
Is this what you're looking at right here? When you, oh my gosh, what a dunk that was!
Well, it'd been the other team, but
Exactly my point.
I mean, there's guys that. I mean, I always like the smaller guys that do it. They're more impressive. I always remember the dunk Ronnie Price, who was
yes.
I totally remember
against,
Over Boozer.
over Carlos
Yes.
Boozer.
Yes.
I mean, and that just like holy cow. I mean, that made your heart pump Kool-Aid
Yep,
boy right there.
It did.
And
Which
I mean,
is not advisable.
No,
Yeah,
because
I
that
mean,
guy
but-
comes smashing through the wall, gives you
Oh.
CPR and stuff. Yeah.
And then I think one that what people would remember because it's on the road. Not only how many people watched the game, not very many. I'm pretty sure because I was doing the game.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
but Spud Webb dunked on Sean Bradley.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like.
It's like a foot. And
You know,
a
it's
half
one of those
difference.
deals
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
thought you didn't, you weren't ready for it.
You didn't really
certainly.
see it, yeah.
And Spud just set it down on the big fella.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the Philly fans, of course, Sean wasn't exactly the most popular player at that time anyway.
Yeah, another guy who met with tragic
But
circumstances
the
there, unfortunately.
Spudster was,
Yeah.
but Spud was maybe the most amazing athlete maybe the
Yeah.
NBA's ever had, really.
Thighs, incredible.
Little hops, some hops
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Kevin Johnson was a great small
Oh
dunker.
yeah. Kevin, I mean, he'd get him every game. I mean, he's like a little bit bigger, talented version of Ronnie Price.
there you go.
I
exactly.
mean, he was. I would
Much
say
more
Kevin
talented.
was great. You really couldn't guard him. Yeah, I was going to say there's. Through the years, I always remember the first time I saw Spud play was in junior college. He's playing for Midland Junior College in Texas, and he was listed at 5'5", I think, at that time. And then no one paid attention. All of a sudden, some 6'8" center shot a turnaround jump shot. Spud went up and blocked it.
Oh man.
Got it, took it down and whammed it. And I said to myself, this ain't normal here.
You don't
Something's
see
going
that
on.
every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember when I first saw him as a rookie watching that layup line the Hawks had, dunk line, and I remember seeing him, and at first I didn't know he was a player,
Right.
Because he
Thought
was
he
just
was a
so
ball kid
yeah,
or
I was like,
something, yeah.
oh, that's
Yeah.
he's
How'd
a
he
player.
get in
He's
line?
Spud Webb, yeah. How about you, Mr. Basketball? Dunk wise, that's a great way to. And the smallest dunkers I
No,
had.
Dominique is a great. I think I'm always partial to Dr. J as far as the dunks are concerned. As far as the way the
But how
acrobatic.
many of them did we actually see?
We didn't see a lot of them. You
Yeah.
see them in highlights. Like my son. I talked about before. My son just saw Dr. J as a Sixer and said, "Well, yeah, he's good, but I don't really get it." And I said, "Well, you didn't get to see the stuff that happened between like 71 and 76 because that stuff was just out of this world." And you see enough clips to see it's just different. He just moves different, and just what he does out there is different. And then you put the showmanship part. I mean, Dominique was incredibly exciting because of the the pogo stick kind of thing that he did and everything. But you watch Dr. J, and it's all just a whole flowing motion. And I just think, especially in his early career, I think Dr. J is it for me.
Well, and Doc, most of his were off one leg.
Yeah.
I mean, Dominique was a kind of a two-leg.
Yeah.
He'd want to come to
He was
a
a
jump
hopper.
stop,
Yeah.
an explosion. And I always remember I was involved in a basketball camp at Rockhurst University when I was a college coach there, and basically Dr. J and George Gervin. It was their camp. I worked because they had to let
Pretty
me work
talented
it.
camp then, yeah.
They had to let me work it.
Were they teammates at the time? 'Cause
No.
they were briefly. Okay.
Yeah. And no, Doc was with us. This was in the late 70s.
So he was already in the
with
Sixers?
the Sixers. And but anyway, the deal was, and which is a good deal for me because I got paid and got to
okay,
hang around.
yeah.
of course.
And both guys.
This is
really
kind of like that, right? I
Yeah.
mean, being with
Am I
Very-
Doc or am I George Gervin? Which one am I?
very similar. It's a kind of amazing that
You had a moment there where you wait a minute, time travel.
It's kind of strange because I remember George Gervin. He'd always come in the office before the camp and we'd visit. He actually paid more attention to me than you two do.
Was he a heartless bastard too, like him?
No, he had real concern for his fellow man.
real empathy for you.
compassionate.
Hey, Jerry, how are you, man? How
Yeah,
are you
no,
doing?
I asked about the family
Yeah,
and stuff.
how the Reynolds is doing.
But then
Yeah.
again, he's just George Gervin.
Just George, just the Iceman, just one of the best nicknames
But anyway,
of all time. Yeah.
anyway, the real story on the dock
On the
was
dock.
with Doc. Last day of camp or something, he wanted to show the kids, or somebody even asked him that there's a rumor that he could dunk it from half court with only one dribble. And so he showed him, and yes, one dribble.
Wow.
He take
No.
he could go from half court, one bounce, and then take it and then dunk it. I mean, now that's some long.
We're gonna have to call it. I don't know.
The thing I think
Wait,
you,
what?
What? Can we diagram that? Stones?
Well,
Can we
well,
have
the thing that your head has to get around is not the dribble; it's the long strides.
Right.
I mean, amazingly long strides. Then when you go back and look at his highlights, you'll see that.
Yeah. So the dribble was like 3 or 4 steps. It wasn't just one step. I mean, it was a big, long. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I mean, he'd be a long step.
Push it out there,
before
yeah.
the dribble, and then
Okay.
And then, of course, he could leave
Still
by the free throw
impossible, but
line.
yeah.
I mean, in other words,
Yeah.
it's not impossible because he did it.
Okay, if you say so, Jerry. You were there. You and
Jesus.
George Gervin were watching it. Yes.
Jesus. I'm telling you, he did it. Now, is it damn near impossible?
Okay.
Yes. And probably even today's game, there wouldn't be 3 or 4 guys who
Yeah.
could do it. But
Giannis,
not-
maybe. Yeah, that would be the,
Yeah,
the
Giannis.
guy. 'Cause
Giannis.
Giannis, it was mine. Thank you so
Yes.
much. Yes.
Yeah, I was a little amazed by that.
I've got a nominee for a great small dunker, but he's like 6'4", so I don't know if that's small enough.
It's
I think
smallish.
he's 6'4".
Okay.
And you guys tell me, like, yay, or hoops or oops, right?
Okay.
Like hoop, yeah, or
Can I just say oops already?
Byron Scott.
Well, he came in from the wing on a magic pass and would throw it down.
Yeah, he could dunk,
But I
yeah.
mean, yeah,
Okay,
he,
come
he-
on. All right.
You're saying could he dunk? Yes, he could dunk.
Sure, he could
Is
dunk.
he in our group? No, he is not.
Okay,
No, he is not.
thank you.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes,
Yeah, I appreciate it.
6'4",
Yeah.
Joe Griffith. That would be a guy.
Oh,
that we
Dr.
said-
Duncan.
Dr.
Duncanstein.
Duncanstein. That would be a guy.
Yeah.
And then he joins the Utah Jazz, and they take the dunk out of it.
Yeah.
He plays. I'm sitting there watching Jazz games, going, "When's he going to do Dr. Duncanstein?" Never. They don't let him. It's terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah, way better than Byron Scott, though.
Oh, my
That was
God.
not a good choice. Yeah. Okay. How about oops? Yeah.
Yeah. What about former King? And he was in the dunk contest. I never thought of him as a dunker, but Kenny, right? Kenny Smith was in.
Kenny
Yeah.
was really good.
Yeah.
Kenny would be
He was in the dunk
about as
contest.
good a dunker
As Byron Scott.
We better.
He's going to talk about as the Kings ever had. Remember Terry Tyler got the slam dunk, and all he did was dribble in and just dunk it. All he did was like layup dunks.
What too creative?
And Terry Tyler was great on the court. He would every once in a while he had a great vertical.
Well, he could.
And everything.
He could dunk on top. He was really. But he just wasn't creative.
No, he got out there. We're all excited. We finally got a guy in the dunk on, and just dribbles up, reaches up, dunks it.
Yeah.
I don't think the score's going to be. That's an oops. Is what I said.
Yeah.
Everybody's going, hey, is that Byron Scott
Was
out
he
there?
the first Kings free agent acquisition?
Yeah, I think
technically,
he was
like they signed Mark McNamara or something, but I don't know.
No,
that's not really. That wasn't last.
Terry's the first one.
Yeah, Terry.
Probably that was a player that other teams might want.
Actually want. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a nice category. What was the first guy you got that somebody else wanted? Terry Tyler. There you go.
Terry,
all right.
Terry was good. Terry was a good
we
player.
loved it. Terry was. He fit perfectly in that group, which was a bunch of fan favorites. Everybody was a fan favorite. He fit right in with that. He was fantastic.
He was. He was.
Yeah.
I mean,
I got to say here, by the way, we're talking about smallish dunkers. When you brought it up, which is a great angle. And I go Byron Scott, and he had Julius Erving. Like, that's
I
great.
had Julius Erving before. You asked me who my favorite in-game dunker was, and I replied with Julius Erving.
Jerry had already taken it towards a smaller.
Well, I took it my way,
right,
but that's okay. All right.
Julius Erving, great. I go Byron Scott.
Because Byron Scott and Julius Erving dunkers, I think you should have got more credit for yours.
I withdraw,
no, that's okay.
I withdraw the comment.
That's all right.
I withdraw the comment. Okay.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think, much I admire Byron. I mean, he's a heck of a player and a good coach, and
fine fellow.
Was an excellent assistant coach for the Kings. People sometimes forget that.
Very good dresser.
He didn't get credit for accomplishing the things he did as a head coach, really, did he? With the Nets, right? Didn't he?
Yeah. He had, he had several stops, and some of them worked, and some of them didn't so well. That's the way that works. But I think with Byron, I think. It's like a lot of guys. Put him in the right spot with enough talent, and he'll win. And you put him in a spot with not very much talent, and he'll lose.
Gotcha.
What is that? 98% of coaches, and maybe there's a couple that.
I think it might be a little higher than that.
So everybody but one.
Well,
there's one coach who can win with bad players.
Well, I've always said. I mean, when you really get down to it, there was obviously a year where Steve Kerr won 15 games.
Yeah.
And there's 2 years where Pat Riley won 15 and 16. And Greg Popovich had a 21-win season or 20-win season. So therein is your answer.
Basically,
I mean, that they do better when they have very good players.
That's a coach's corollary. Yeah.
The
better your players, the better coaching you're going to do.
It doesn't mean that. I always said it doesn't mean that everybody could do what Pat Riley did or what Greg Popovich did, but at the top level. But it's also true is they couldn't either if they didn't have top-level talent.
Exactly.
And they'd be the first to tell you that.
What would you say is the hardest thing about being an NBA head coach? With so many things you got to concern yourself with, and I know there's a lot of stress and everything. You've talked about that. But just in terms of, all right, this is my job now, what is the most difficult aspect of it?
I think for me, and I think it varied, but for me it was leaving the game behind. And just my background in college, and I always remember Cotton Fitzsimmons tried to give me good advice, and I couldn't take it or I couldn't handle it. He just said, Jerry, when you walk out of that locker room, forget that game. You got another one. Focus on that one. And I couldn't do that. I mean, it just lingered until the next one,
Right.
I mean, that sort of thing.
That wasn't a good team you had to have that kind of approach with, was it?
It left. There's a lot of lingering.
When you walk out of the locker room, forget this season never happened.
But
just forget everything.
I'll tell you the truth, though. The amazing thing, and I mean, I really all but a couple of players I really enjoyed. I mean, there's a couple that just you wouldn't want as neighbors or in your area of the state for that matter.
Okay.
But for the most really good guys, so that helped. But I always say that the thing, I think it's part of coaches and who you are or why you do what you do or how you got there is that by the next game, I thought we'd win.
Yeah.
I always thought we'd win. By the, getting ready, and it's like, Now, I knew that a lot of things would have to fall in place, you know.
Did the term delusional ever apply to you?
Oh, no question.
Yes, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
I think you need a level of delusion.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I certainly had that.
You had that in supply.
But
yeah.
you know, part of your think, well, yeah, we can win this game. And now this got to happen. This got to. I mean, obviously, it all boils down to, and we play a great game, and they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they
Yeah.
have an awful. I mean, in some cases, the other teams has to help us.
Yeah, yeah.
Which they did at times. They're a really good team. You'd catch them looking ahead or whatever.
I would think the attitude that helped make you so successful at Vincennes it just didn't always apply at the NBA level. But you had to have that mindset to do what you did there. It just didn't apply with the team that you had. At the NBA
the
level.
difference was, I mean, I was like I say with championship teams in junior college, championship team in college division. And,
Yeah, yeah.
And the one reason we won those championships, we were really good. We had more talent than
good
the people.
player,
we
really
were
good players.
Yeah, we had
it
really
was
good players.
Good job by you.
I mean,
yeah.
we had NBA players.
I'm sure
That's
he's
gonna
selling
help.
himself short a little bit, though. That's what he does.
We
No,
all
I'm
do.
actually
That's
no.
built in.
I know that's true, but I'm sure you had a little more to do with it than you would have us believe.
Right.
Well, I mean, it was pretty easy. Mac, are you going to be able to play tonight? And McAdoo and
And if he was, Jerry was a great
or
coach.
Foots Walker, can you go tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're good.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Did
you
you-
know,
you're
I mean, it's
starting-
pretty much
yeah.
like Kareem. Can you give us 35 minutes tonight? Magic 35, and I'm pretty sure if you
All
were
of
the
a sudden
coach,
you're a
you'd
great
say,
coach, yeah.
I think we got a good
Yeah.
chance.
Worthy, can you drop in? Sure.
No,
that'd be
I
fine.
think, I mean, really, sometimes it is that simple. I mean, I knew that the other team, if we didn't play well when you had the most talent, you could lose, and certainly we did, or our guys weren't really up for it or didn't perform. But you also knew if we come to play and we play at our best, it doesn't make any difference what they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what you see when you see, you know, the great NBA teams or the great UCLA teams of the past. Do you think John Wooden didn't? He knew if all he had to do was make sure that his guys played their best. If they did, they didn't have to worry about winning because winning would be there.
I know that's true. But all that said, then you look at what happened to the Lakers after they won the championship. And then in 81, Westhead was the coach, and that team was not good. And he ended up getting fired with the next year, I think 82. He had Magic, he had Kareem, they'd won a championship, but it just didn't fit. He didn't have the wherewithal, and he went on to do a lot of amazing things as a coach. So it's not just a matter, obviously, of having the most talent.
No, I mean, and you have to be the talent has to be motivated. I always say there's only two things a coach can do is motivate and utilize correctly. Now, in that case, they were neither.
Yeah.
And that happens with really good players. I mean, there was the year that Bill Fitch got fired with the Celtics. They'd won, I think, 54 or 55 games.
Okay.
But that's way down from the 60s they've been winning.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and the players just got tired of him, tired of his stuff. Now that's who he was. That's what made him successful early, but it's what know. And I mean, Pat Riley would tell you the same thing. I think with the Lakers, there was a time when he wore out his welcome, so to speak.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah, a coach is important. I've always said just my experience, the junior college experience was in a lot of ways the best as far as coaching because about the time you got tired of them, they were tired of you.
It's time to go.
And it's time to get on to the next
So
level.
it really does kind of get to that a little bit, and just like anything, you find yourself, telling them the same thing, or they get tired of hearing your stuff, and so but I think that's what happens in the NBA to some degree. That's why you have to kind of change rosters. I always remember Bill Russell telling me a story about Red Auerbach. He said every year, middle of the year, Red would try to trade somebody. He'd always, say trade our butthead for another butthead.
Somebody else's butthead.
Yeah, he said because and he'd always be able to sell it on the basis. Well, our butthead he'll come in a half year and he'll play good for you for a half year because he has to.
Yeah.
And we'll take your butthead. because he's got to fit in for a half year. And I think it sounds, but I think there's a lot of truth to that. A guy that, his 10th man or 9th man is unhappy about his playing time.
Right.
Well, okay, just move him on down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you get somebody not much better, but keep your core, and then it might shake up your core a little bit, and they don't have to hear Joe Fiduzel bitching about playing time.
Yeah,
It changes things
Fiduzel.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fiduzel.
I got to ask you. I saw him do this once, Mr. Basketball, when he was coaching, and I've always thought this is probably a coaching no-no. But you tell me. And he was a fine coach, but he was an assistant coach.
Yeah, it was.
So he's an assistant coach there, and this is probably 7th or 8th grade boys.
I don't know. There's so many things you could be talking
and
about.
he's not the head coach. Okay?
Wasn't
He's
the
not
head coach. No, and that's a good
So
thing.
the head coach is, standing up coaching the game, and Mr. Basketball has a thought, and he stands up, and he turns to the head coach, and instead of going over to tell the head coach, he tells the head coach, "Hey, come here. I got something I got to tell you."
I had something.
And I told him after the game, I was like,
I
I
had
don't
something.
think you're supposed
Yeah.
to do that. But
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong, Jerry. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it depends on the relationship, obviously, and the importance of what you have to tell him, obviously, in the course of the game. I thought it was best in those
Well, yeah. Hey,
circumstances.
hey,
That's the way I handle it. Jerry, don't you have to handle it sometimes?
Well,
you just got to handle it a different way.
In most circumstances, obviously, I'd have a
That's-
problem with that.
That's okay. So that's not good.
But here,
Okay.
but the point being is this is Mr. Basketball.
Yes,
Okay.
thank
All right.
you.
Yeah.
So-
know your role. Okay.
So basically, that head coach ought to trotted his little butt right
he
back
went.
there.
You mean me? And
Yeah.
then come right
Yes,
over.
right.
Yes.
Say,
Yeah.
what do you want me to do?
Which is, I think, exactly what happened.
that's-
Absolutely.
so like I
yeah,
say,
yeah.
you've gotta look
Some
at-
people can't
at
accept
all-
that.
Okay. Yeah.
All
I was
circumstances.
I was aghast when I saw that, but you're right.
You're
I was
narrow
just-
casting again, aren't you? Yes.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet Mrs. Gleason's aghast a lot around there.
Yes, that's
We are
true.
seeing a couple of new sides that
and
I don't
it-
think Jerry
and
ever saw.
It's important. It wasn't just, "Hey, come here." It was like almost dismissive, like,
See how he tries to make it even worse after
Yeah.
you've
"No,
sided
that's,
with me?
that's what
Isn't that
happened."
interesting?
Well,
that's what.
That's really interesting the way he deals with that rejection.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
That's what. That's
Go
what I
get the
saw.
ball and bring it back, okay? You
Yeah.
just got your shot blocked.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
all right.
I mean, I was going to say, in most cases, but this
in
is
most
clearly,
cases.
Again,
Most
this
cases.
is clearly
There
an
are
exception.
Yeah.
that makes the
Yeah.
Well,
rule.
and I have no doubt that the head coach and yourself,
Yes.
the relationships that you had, he knew
Yes.
that you knew far more than
Yeah,
he did.
and realize
And
the urgency of what I was
Yeah.
saying. If I was
And
going
that-
to do that, it was pretty important. He should
Yeah.
come down there.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how you weren't there
Now-
and you know exactly what happened, and he
Yeah.
was sitting there and
See,
has no idea.
Now-
I'm
now
learning-
you
I'm
did
learning a lot here.
You didn't make him like kneel in front of you or anything.
No, I didn't make him, but I mean, that's
That's what he chooses
I mean,
to
if that's
do.
what you're going to do, that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, no.
yeah. Show deference your own way is what I say. But
That's-
yeah,
yeah, okay.
All
all right.
Okay,
well,
thank
yeah.
you.
Hey,
Thank
you.
anything else?
I don't know. We're probably getting close to ending time, so I don't know if you guys wanted to, if you want to talk about the schedule at all, or if you wanted to talk about House of the Dragon. I don't know if you
Did you worry about the schedule back in the early days? I mean, the schedule, it's like, when are we playing Chicago?
Well,
is there anything else to it?
Well, I've always said, and I mean, I felt this way. I learned this from Bill Johnson and Cotton, guys that I really admired, spent time with, and and I know Phil always said that he got it from Jerry Sloan,
Okay.
which as a so he always said, look. You play 41 at home and 41 on the road, and there are going to be some tough games in there,
Mixed in there, yeah.
and there'll be some easy games in there. There'll be some bad road trips,
Yeah.
and there'll be some good road trips. Wow! So just play the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
And
Okay.
I mean, really, and I know it's just going on fan sites and different things. This is a tough stretch. Yes, it is, and there'll be
Right.
an easy stretch.
Right.
And
right.
your
Yeah.
opponent's got the same problem,
basically the
with the
same thing,
exception
yes.
of my hated rivals, the Lakers and the Clippers. They don't play 41 at home and 41
No, they
on the
don't.
road. They play 43 at home for now.
Yeah. Phil Johnson, was he Jerry Sloan's assistant?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
for years and years and years.
Just no, don't mean anything by this. What would have happened, in your opinion, if Phil Johnson, during a Jazz game, Phil Johnson gets up, Jerry Sloan's coaching, and Phil Johnson says, "Hey, Jerry, hey, what do you think he would have done?"
Probably
Wow.
he would have been knocked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you do a little Frozen and let it go, okay?
Just
Why
a
don't you
question.
do that? Huh?
Just
I'm
a
sorry.
question.
Can you let it? Jerry has already adjudicated the situation. I thought
I
very
agree, and
admirably.
yeah.
And then you're gonna. Why don't you
Just-
make up another coach? Who was Red Auerbach's assistant? I don't know.
He didn't have
Probably
one, did
didn't
he?
have one.
Yeah.
Probably was Red Auerbach. Yeah.
Yeah, Red Auerbach didn't have one.
I don't think
How did
so.
people ever get along with that 7 assistants? I don't know how.
I don't know how they
don't know.
did.
Incredible.
7? It's probably more than that, isn't
Probably
it?
more than that. I mean,
Yeah.
you count on. I mean, I don't know how many stacked.
Video
I
coordinators.
always
and
said they're
stuff.
stacked up like cordwood behind there. you know.
Yes. Yes.
They are
I
like
don't know.
3 rows deep behind the
Yeah,
bench.
I mean, hey, now I've always said that the difference used to be assistant coaches. Now you have to have 3 or 4 word descriptions for the title. So I mean, I don't if that means it's more important or they're really searching.
They want to have unique titles for all 34 coaches.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
So,
Assistant video game coordinator. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know,
Absolutely.
Jerry, you-
I will not.
You
See,
will
he
not?
doesn't. He doesn't
No,
go for
protest.
That. Yeah.
Yeah.
he's
No,
protesting.
Nope. After the way they ended it, to hell with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm mad at them. I'm going to stay
Yeah.
mad.
Yeah. It kind of ended the way the Kings season did against the Lakers that year, where it's everything's so promising. Like, what the hell was that? Yeah. But Phantom's in on the House of the Dragon.
I'll give him another chance. It's a little bit different, guys. I agree with Jerry.
Too
of
many
course.
characters.
Abominate. Well,
Who
you gotta,
are these people?
You're throwing a lot of characters to see if anybody sticks. Remember, the old series was great because of all the great characters that emerged from the series. I mean, so many different characters. I know
Well-
Jerry loved Braun. He was a fantastic guy.
Well, all I know is, all of a sudden, the Wilding group
Yeah.
were able to live years and years with the White Walkers.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden they couldn't.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
Yeah.
All of a sudden? and then the little girl, she ends up killing all the White Walkers.
Yeah.
And,
Arya,
then,
yeah.
and then you have these dragons all along, and they turn into jet planes, and it's like, why
Yeah.
you need an army? Just send the damn dragon in the first
Well,
place.
that's
I
the
know.
thing, Jerry. This other one now, there's way more dragons in this one. That the new one's
Yeah.
got like 3 times, 5 times as many
well,
dragons.
my eyes will not be watching it.
Well, okay.
I'm mad at
I mean,
it.
I'll
And
send
I'm
you
sta-
every
I'm
week. I'll
standing.
send you a synopsis or something.
No, you
okay?
won't. No,
yeah,
no,
I
no,
could
I
do
won't.
that. Yeah.
No.
Hey, I'll say, hey, Jerry, come here, and I'll give you the
Yeah,
synopsis.
you'll say come here, and I'll do you like Jerry Sloan would do.
If you had to.
Okay,
Jerry,
all right.
If you had
I'm
to, it's
done.
like, you have to. No choice. You have to do one of these 2 things. You have to do one of these 2 things. Either you have to watch House of the Dragon, or you got to watch Kansas City Royals baseball. Which one? If those are the only choices,
That's it.
yeah.
And you can do both with us. We'll watch them with you.
Probably Royals baseball.
There you go. We're getting Jerry back to baseball.
There we go.
Yes.
Yes.
I knew we could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for watching the Old Fashioned 3. Try it again next week.
I don't know. Well, Jerry and I will talk.
Yeah,
we'll get back to
we
you.
may have to make some,
it's
a
been
little
fun.
minor-
Personnel
I've enjoyed
changes
it.
may be imminent.
Thank you for joining the Old Fashioned 3 on Stones Radio Networks. To stay updated on the show, like and subscribe on YouTube, and all shows are available for download on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and of course at stonesradionetworks.com. Follow the show and the gents on Twitter at OL, Fashion, and the number 3, at Phantom Radio 60, and at Whitey Gleason. This has been a production of Stones